ultrarunners are chasing medals, others chase time. But then there's a rare kind, the ones who always run for the sheer joy of pushing what's possible. Today's guest is exactly that. He has crossed finish lines most of us can only imagine. Not because he's trying to prove anything, but because he simply loves to suffer, to grow, to move. In this episode, we dig into what drives a man to run multiple hundred milers week after week. We talk about discipline over motivation, how to train without a strict plan, running on joy, and why walking away isn't always an option. Whether you are training for your first 5K or towing the line at your next ultra, this one will hit deep. This is not about glory, this is about grit. So let's get right into it, and please let me introduce to our guest today. Here is Alec. Hey Alec, welcome to the show, and I'm so glad you're here. We were talking before the recording started, and we're talking about how you are a machine and how you cross the races. So please welcome to the show, and thank you for agreeing to do this.
For having me on. I really appreciate it.
I accidentally encountered you, so I don't know a lot about you, but I know your race profiles, and you pretty much kick ass in everything you participate. We were talking earlier on, you just did 100 miler this morning, and then you finished it in 12 hours, and your marathon for within that 100 miles was 3 hours and 18 minutes. So that's a PR for a lot of people. Can you please give a little bit quick introduction about who is Alec?
I guess I like to not necessarily say that running defines me, but it definitely is a big part of my life. But I'm Alec Cline. I live in Canton, Ohio, in the USA. Hello from Germany all the way over there. But yeah, I just live here in good old Ohio, and I really do enjoy running. I'm a demand planner at work. Live a pretty, I guess, average lifestyle. Maybe people wouldn't agree with that, but yeah, I just like to run and I like to push limits and just try hard things. And not out of any personal vendetta or anything. Just I think it's just fun to push yourself. So that's me. I also collect a lot. So I just
Oh yeah,
realized.
God, those are, yeah, that's a lot of ad and everything else. So going to your journey at the beginning, we were talking about earlier on, and when you started running, you were not aware of doing this ultra. So what drove you into running these ultras, or like what it just like once you started crossing marathons, you're like, I need more challenge and I need to do bigger distances.
It's a funny little story. So I started running in 2018 when I got out of the Marine Corps. I started running with my cousin just on a whim. And we ran for about 2 years, and we just would increase mileage. Like, we didn't know what we were doing. We just hold our phones, run with them. We didn't have a headlamp at night. We'd use our flashlights on our phones, stuff like that. And I didn't run my first marathon until a year and a half later, so the end of 2019, because I started in the beginning of 2018 or middle. And I ran the Marine Corps marathon, and then COVID hit in 2020. So I didn't do any races in 2020 except for Mohican 50 miler at the end of October, which is normally in July, but it got moved because of COVID. Well, before that, the reason I signed up was my uncle had invited me earlier in the year, and it might have been late 2019, to just go try this hiking trail down there. And it's a 25-mile loop, and we were going to run it. And we ran it. It beat us the hell up. We were destroyed after. And then I actually went down two more times over the course of a few months. Just really enjoyed it. Like really beautiful. So I would do one loop. Well, the second time I went down on my own, I remember it being really hot. It's a 25-mile loop. I didn't bring water or anything. I didn't know how it worked. It just would run, and I just did the loop. And I did it in like 4.5 hours. And that point is for a good reason. Is when I finished, I was getting in my car. I was just beat up, and this woman had just pulled in the parking lot. She's like, "Do you know where the short loop is?" And I said, "I only know this one loop. I don't really know where all the other trails are." She's like, "Really?" And she asked me what I did today, and I told her, and she's like, "You should do Mohican 50 miler." And I was like, 50 miles? I mean, I didn't even that sounds crazy. I don't know. That would sound pretty freaky. And so I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. And so I left there that day and I went home and I I guess I just laid down at night, and I don't really remember the whole actual timeline, but I just kept thinking about it, and I told my wife I think I might sign up for a 50 miler, and I don't know how. I mean, I'm sure she was very approving, but I don't really know how the conversation went back then. I think it was just like, really? And I ended up signing up, and yeah, I met a really good friend on Facebook that was doing the same race for his first 50, and we linked up, and yeah, we did it, and it crushed us, but we finished it. And that, I think that really got me hooked because I'm like, one, I never ran trails other than those 3 training runs in Mohican. And two, just going really far felt so accomplishing. Like the marathon felt really like a big accomplishment. And then this just felt like another big accomplishment. And everything I had done up to that point just felt like I was so grateful for how awesome things I could do. And then that 50 miler, I was just like, man, what can I do? That seems like anything's possible. And yeah, I just started really thinking about ultras. And don't get me wrong, like I still do every distance. I love them. 1 mile, 5K, 10K, anything. It's a lot of fun. They have all their different difficulty levels. But I feel like my guilty pleasure is ultra marathons. So yeah,
Indeed.
that's kind of how I got it.
Yeah, I mean, indeed, it shows like you enjoy it just by crossing all the competition. And it's like we're talking about later, and you're like, oh, I love this. And it shows genuinely when you're talking about running, as I think you love it. So it shows when you're talking about it. And you said this 50 miler was what made you realize that you want to do this. Is it fair to say that this was the race that was pinnacle for you to become a ultra?
I'd say so. Yeah, because I call that my legacy race now because I ended up doing the 50 miler the next year and I did the 50 miler the next year. And then I did my first 100 miler at Mohican. And then I did my second, or I did another one at Mohican the next year. And then I just did it for a third time this year. So I want to try to do the 100 there every year. And I really, really love those trails. And I think it just holds a special place in my heart because that is where it all started. And it's not an easy course either. That's what makes me feel good about it. That 50 miler had about 8,000 feet of elevation. And it really, it was a great one. I mean, I really, really think about that first one. And well, the funny thing is that in 2020, for my first one, it had to be on all private land. It couldn't be on the state park land where it normally is because of COVID. So the whole course was completely different than it is now. And which was kind of cool because they had said you're getting a glimpse of how the course used to be in the 90s. So it had changed over time. And we basically were doing like an oldie, like a throwback. And they got together and they talked to like a bunch of private landowners and got approval from all of them to run the course, a new course through all their land. So I wasn't even on the trails I started on, but I think just the idea of it itself really, really kept me coming back to Mohican somehow. So yeah, that'd be a fair assumption. That's how it started.
So looking back at now, you do almost 100 miles every time you do a race. So that was your 51st miler. So how much of a time difference have you caught off? So when you first did the 50K, what was your time? And when you do it again, what was your time for it?
For my 50 miler,
Yeah.
for the 50 miler, I'll just go off of memory. So my first Mohican 50 was like 10 hours and 30 minutes or something. And that's hilly. But then now this past March, I did a flat 50 miler and I did it in 5 hours and 33 minutes. So it was a lot faster, about 5 hours
Yeah,
faster.
that's insane. Can you imagine? Because you said
Yeah.
your first 50 was 10 hours, and then you did 100 miler this morning, like yesterday, and you did that in
Yeah.
24 hours. So that
In
just sounds,
13:30.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just bonkers.
I mean, flat courses, and I know this isn't like the reason, but flat courses will give you a lot more speed. But yeah, I've still cut off a lot of time, which
I mean,
that's, I mean, Mohican itself, I just ran it last Saturday and I did it in 17 hours and 51. And the first time I did Mohican 100 in 2023, I did it in 23:50. So that's about 6 hours
6 hours.
faster on that
Yeah.
course.
Dang. I mean, you
So, I
say
mean, we talk about time so much, but it is just all for the fun, and
it
that's the way
is.
I look at it. It's fun to win too. It's fun all over. There's a lot of good aspects to it.
So when you are doing these incredible races, like 100 miles and everything, so how do you approach your training for a race? Like, do you have any sort of structured plan, or you just go based on how you feel?
Yeah, a lot of it's on how I feel. I have never followed a running plan, and it's morphed over the years into kind of what it is now. But so, like those first 2 years I talked to you about with my cousin, we would just like take notebook paper and make like little tables, and we'd be like, all right, Monday, we're going to do 4 miles. And then Tuesday, I think Tuesdays we took off, and Wednesdays we would increase by a half mile every week. And then Thursdays, I think we took off. Fridays, we had a speed 4 miler. So just as fast as we could, 4 miles, because there was like the loop around town. And then Saturdays, we increased by 1 mile. And Sundays, I think we just ran whatever. So we would just self increase mileage. And we just got to the point we didn't know like how we should just keep going. And I think our last run together was 22 miles. And then we kind of stopped. He stopped running, and I had to just do it on my own. And then I kind of took the winter off. But aside from that point, what I do now, it's largely on feel. I always run after work. I go through work. I kind of think about what I'm going to do that day. I have a constant friend that I run with at least on Mondays, sometimes a couple days a week. We'll do speed together on Tuesdays, but whatever speed session he chooses, I'm doing. I mean, I if he's like in a training block for a 5K, which he was just in a training block for a half marathon, so he would be doing different interval sessions.
Yeah.
I would just that day be like, "What are we doing?" And I would join him. And then, like, so Mondays, I'll just go through my week. What I usually is like Mondays, I've started running at lunch. I get an hour for lunch, so I'll run 6 miles. And it actually is nicer than most people think. I always was against lunch running. I have a couple friends that do it. And now it kind of is just a nice little break. So I just go, I get done with some time to spare and I just go run and come back. So then after work, I'll do 8 miles with my buddy. And then on Tuesdays, I'll do 6 miles at lunch. And then we'll do probably about 7 miles with the speed workout in that because it'll be like 2 mile warm up, whatever speed, and then a mile or two cool down. And then Wednesdays, I did for a long time, I call them 20-mile Wednesdays. So I used to not run at lunch. So after work, I drive 45 minutes north to my running group called the Lawn Wranglers. And they run 6 miles together. But I got a couple buddies that sometimes nobody, but I've had recently some buddies that will go 20 miles with me. And we just call it Wednesdays are for growing. I love it. And I've done 44 Wednesdays of 20 miles or more. Like I even went up there and did 32 miles one day. And I got home at like 1 a.m. I mean, and I had to work the next day. So, whatever. So now what I do is I do 6 at lunch and then I'll do 14 up there. So I still get 20 miles, but I've been splitting it up. But I'll be going back to some 20s because I'm in a training block now for my next 100 at the end of July. So at least I get some time off. But then Thursdays, I have done a decent effort to not run. But if I do, it's 6 miles at lunch. And then after work, I go and bike, or I use the indoor bike at the Y. And then I go for about an hour in the sauna and I stretch a ton, just get all my mobility. And then at 7 p.m., I go to a place called Stretch Labs, which it's a 50-minute session 50, so almost an hour, and they stretch you out. They put you in these like good positions to stretch you, your legs, everything. And that feels pretty good. So it's a long Thursday. Friday, probably something light because usually I'll pick a race on Saturdays. I love racing and I'll do like a lot of 5Ks through the year, anything. So Friday will be light, and then Saturday I'll go race. If not, I try to get like 20 miles on a Saturday. And then the same thing, by the end of the week, I look at my weekly mileage and I just try to round it to like an even number. So it's just no really good reason. But if I'm at like 82 miles by Saturday, I'll do 18 on Sunday and I'll get 100 miles.
100.
Then I restart. And I think when I get to work on Monday, I just forget what I did the week before and I just run again. And I've done that for a long time. Now it's taken time to get up to that volume because, like, I remember 30 miles in a week being like, this is huge. Like,
Yeah.
it is huge. You're putting 30 miles on your legs. And that's nothing to be ashamed of or think that it's not a lot because I remember thinking, like, how the heck do people ever do any more? Like, that's like 4 miles a day. And then your just perspective changes as you just add more over time. And as you do add more volume, you get it faster and it doesn't take as long. And that's nice. So you
Yeah.
get more miles with less time. And over the course of 7 years, I can do 100-mile weeks and not be destroyed every week. It's like manageable. So yeah, that's the long answer how my weekly schedule works. It's largely on field, and sometimes I'll take 2 days off in a row. But I don't really take days off. I'll just do like I'll go bike or I'll
Mhm.
go use the sauna and stretch. Or I like the arc trainer at the gym. It's like an elliptical, but it's a high stepper. So
Mhm.
it really opens your hips. Stair climber's awesome. That's a killer machine.
Yeah.
So anything cardio based, because I think it's good to stay in motion. I think your body wants to move. I believe that.
That's a good breakdown. You said you break your run in the lunch and then evening. So I think if somebody is saying, "Oh God, I don't have time to do something," then they can probably use this idea where you are breaking it out. I think that was useful. And also when you are going into a race and then you go to the peak week, and then how does your cutoff week look like when you are going in a week?
Like the week
Do
of the race, I'll cut off like, I mean, this week obviously so different because it's just
two
between two
races?
100 milers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so before I did that 100 miler on May 17th, and I try to take the Sunday through that Friday really easy. So like I've kind of tried to figure out a system. I'm still learning with the taper and the rest and recovery because like there's only a handful of races I actually really care about a lot each year. So all the other races I do like are part of my training. So I'll still go race 50Ks, but I'll go into that 50K with 70 miles on the week just to be like burning up the legs. But when I did this 100, that was one I cared about a lot. I did 3 miles a day, just an easy 3 miles at lunch. And I would do that for 5 or 6 days leading up to the race. And then after work, I would go maybe to the bike and I would do really low resistance and just spin my legs. And then another big thing is I do at least a 30-minute sauna session each day. And just to one, acclimate for the heat if it is a hot race, but two, I really think that it helps the body heal and it's getting your blood flowing and your blood plasma high. And I do think it is a very good tool for adaptation for getting ready for high stress levels. And running 100 is going to stress you out a lot.
Yeah.
But I think if you can stress your system out in a controlled setting daily, it does prepare you a lot better for the trauma you're about to give it. So, yeah, and I'm still working on that taper. I think I may want to back it up a day or two. So, like, come Burning River this end of July, I think I'm going to start on like the Thursday of the week before and start really cutting back on volume and leading all the way up until the race. But the one thing I know for sure is it doesn't work to take the week off, and I've tried that. It does. I tried that with the Georgia Death race I did 2 years ago, and I got to the race and I was like, man, I don't know how to run. Like, I don't feel like I know how. I haven't ran for 7 days. And so I learned there not to do that. It's not going to kill you. If you're doing this kind of stuff, like hundreds, it's not going to kill you to do 2 or 3 miles a day. I mean, you should be more trained for that. And if you can't do that, and maybe you're just not ready, and that's fine. You just might not be ready to go that far because 100 miles is a far away. I mean, it's not for the beginner, that's for sure.
Definitely.
So
And I agree what you said about the blood flowing thing, because when I did my certification, I learned that the more we have heat on the muscles or whatever, like when you do the sauna or whatever, then it open up the vein. So if you have some stress, like maybe a little bit of tear, then when more blood passes through in all those areas, then the faster the recovery is. So, and that was quite opposite what you hear, like when they say if you have some muscle ache or whatever, put ice on it, and that totally contradicts with what the traditional thing is. Like I am in a couple of like WhatsApp group, and they are like, "Well, I'm putting ice on it," and I'm like, "No, just put the heat pad.
no,
Yeah, just put the heat pad, and the heat pad to help." So, and
I don't
I,
like ice baths. I don't
yeah,
think they work very well. I mean, I know there's a huge debate whether they do or not. People swear by them, but I have one. It's like a Rubbermaid trough that I have in my porch, and I've used it before, and it honestly causes me more stress than anything because I don't want to do it. I'm a big wimp when it comes to the cold, and I don't think it helps me. I think the sauna, I enjoy it, and it helps me. And I think if something's mentally enjoyable, it helps.
I think sauna helps because, like you said, when you are in the heat, then the vein expands, and that kind of helps a lot with the recovery. Maybe that's your big secret is that you're doing sauna for 1 hour, and then
It's the sauna.
yeah, it's the sauna that you're recovering faster than anybody else.
Yeah, I don't know. A culmination of things, that's for sure.
Talking about in the same topic, like when you are running for so long distance, what kind of strength training do you do, or you don't do it? Like we were talking about earlier, you said you kind of sort of have it, like you do the bike and stuff, but is there any particular cross training thing you do?
Huge, what do you call it? I guess people don't like to hear this, but I don't
Do
strength train.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of a stupid reason because it doesn't follow what I think is good is that you should do things that you don't necessarily want to do and it makes you grow. But I don't enjoy strength training and it's hard for me to do it because it's just I don't like it. I mean, it's just boring. And it sounds like really crude to say it that way, but I don't enjoy it. Now, my philosophy on it is that I don't necessarily think it's needed unless there is an imbalance. Like if you're fine running and you don't feel like a big imbalance, an issue coming on one side or another, then I don't necessarily think you need it. Now, like I have a pretty big imbalance. I have an issue with my left side of my back. I have had it for years. I can see my pelvic tilt, but I think there are still ways to work that without strength training. Now, I am doing something I guess would be considered that is I've been starting to do resistance bands and stretching and a lot of mobility on that side, trying to get the hip open more. I think those things are really important. Now, stretching is important, but I think that stretching really only works if you're strengthening within that flexibility. So you have to be strong in that elongated position. So that is a type of strength training, but it's just in, I guess, in a simple sense, I don't go and lift weights. That's just not something. Now, for cross training, I have learned a lot of this over the past 6 months to a year. I think there's a hidden weapon out there for using cardio machines to work cardiovascular system for running. I don't think it'll contradict it. I think it'll support it. So like when I've been biking lately, I was on a streak for a little bit, a couple weeks. I had like 40 miles a week on the bike, which it might only be 2.5 hours, 3 hours to get that. And I wear a heart rate strap all the time and I just try to hold my heart rate in the 120s, which is actually kind of hard on the bike. I didn't realize it'd be as hard as it is. Like holding it when you're running is like super, but your heart's up in the sky, right? As soon as you start. For biking, I guess my legs are not as strong. So I have to bike kind of fast to get my heart rate up, but it's good. If I can keep it in the 120s, to me, I'm adding coins in the bank for my zone two. I'm just working zone two, zone two, zone two. And so I'll do the same thing with stair climber, the elliptical, the anything. I'll just try to get it up into that 120 to 130 range and just stay there. And it's not like killer. I'm not just dripping dying, but it's getting some work in. And I think I'm building those highways of oxygen. Your body's building all those capillaries and just getting ready to give oxygen and all that blood flow to your muscles. And yeah, that's my form of cross training. And I with that, what I'm on top of that is when you build that low aerobic engine, then you can do one or two really hard speed sessions each week, whatever they are, on the bike, on the run, and that will build your VO2. So you kind of get in your top end, your low end. But I think it's very much low end heavy, and that's why I try to incorporate all those extra things in there.
That makes sense. When I also try to do the elliptical, even though it is boring, it sucks. It sucks. I also try to.
It does. It
It's
can get
boring.
hard.
Yeah, I used to run 6 times when I did the Berlin Marathon, and then this time I was trying to do something, and instead of running 6 days, now I started doing 4 days, and then try to shift some of the weights in the cross training. So I do one day with just do it on elliptical and 40 minutes, and it's like, oh my god, it's like one of the worst, like so hard. So what I do is I just put some thing they have, the scenic route or whatever thing they have, and I just watch the screen because it's so boring just to, but it works. It works, like you said, it helps that low aerobic base that you want to build, if you want to build the endurance and everything, and like build up that oxygen and everything like that. So yeah, hopefully somebody's listening and they
Yeah,
might
and
do
that's
it.
yeah, that's why I try to do something 7 days a week. And it's not like as bad as people think, like, oh, you're working out every single day. It's like, no, your cardio system can really, really take a lot. Like, it's not like an ordinary muscle. But yeah, you're still using your legs, but your cardio system wants to work. It's an engine that wants to be turned on every day. Sure, it can't go 365. I think there should be rest periods, but it wants to be worked, and it doesn't necessarily have to be through running all the time. So
Definitely.
yes, I do hope that helps people because it's okay not to run. I mean, you can work on your running in other ways. And running is hard on the body, especially like if you're heavier or your running form isn't great or you're just getting started. Everybody goes through the miserable shin splints. At least I think most people do. I mean,
Yeah,
I had shin splints for 2 years. I couldn't even, like, my dog would walk by and her tail would hit my leg and it'd be excruciating. I mean, it would just be the lightest touch. So those are all the things that are really hard in the beginning. So it's kind of a ease of mind knowing you can do other cardio equipment to support your running.
definitely, definitely. And that's the approach I've been trying to do, but it's not been too successful. So I need to get back to it.
It's okay. Each day is new, and it sounds so cliche, but it's okay when you're thinking about your next day. Well, what can I do that's little? 20 minutes. What can I do? And it's good for habit forming because it's just a part of your lifestyle now. Like tomorrow, would you just decide not to eat?
No,
I mean,
yeah,
unless you're
definitely.
fasting for a reason, but
Yeah.
it's like you're gonna still eat. So if you think of that with working out, you're like, well, I do work out every day. I go to the gym every day, whether it's even just I stretch at the gym. It's you're building that mental habit of I do this every day. This is just a part of my lifestyle. I'm not gonna forget to poop today. I'm gonna go to the gym today. So that's that's my belief.
That's so true. When I was in US, I lived in Phoenix, and me and my cousin we used to go to gym at 4:30 a.m. So, and when I moved here,
It's
I did that for like a year and a half in Phoenix, and I moved here to Berlin, and I did that for like 4 or 5 months, and then the snow started coming up, and then it just started slowly started going, and it slowly started. Now I go to gym like twice a week, barely, and I try to run on the days I don't go to gym. And now, like what you said is so true though, because once you have that habit of going and waking up, and I was like 4:30, I don't even need an alarm. Like I just wake up and go, and I know that that's the first thing I wanted to do, and everything was so clear. And now I'm just like, now the sleep is nice. I still wake up at 5, not that bad. But once you have this routine set up, then everything is easier, and you're disciplined, and motivation comes and goes. But once you are disciplined, then it never goes, because that's like, I need to do this. And like you said, it's just like it's a habit. And once we are this creature of habit, then everything becomes easier. You get stronger. And I could find difference in my body too. When I was doing that for like 4:30 in the morning, then I could feel I was a little bit stronger than I am right now in terms of my leg and everything too. So what you said totally makes sense.
Yeah, and I think one thing that may help you too is get the idea of I need to do anything out of your head. I try to say I want
True.
because it's so much it gives you so much more ease of mind when it's something that you personally want to do. You don't need to work out. I know people that don't work out and they die at 85. Like you don't need to, but it's something that you want to do and take ownership in the fact that it's we're grateful to have all our limbs. We're grateful to not have terminal diseases and we get the opportunity to do something like this. So no, we don't need to, but we want to because it's something we enjoy. So if it's waking up at 4:30, which that's terrible. I don't do that. That's something different. I am not a morning person, but getting up at 4:30 and working out, if that's something that really does make you feel better, remember that. Yeah, you like to sleep, but try to get back into that routine and see, do I like the long-term effects of this more or would I just rather sleep? And you may really decide you'd rather sleep, but you know, I think you want to do yourself a service in something that your body would enjoy, moving better, being healthier, and pursuing your running goals. That's something that you want. And you want your past life to support your future life because you are the memory of your future right now. So you might as well do it right. And you might as well promise yourself in the future, I'm going to do this for you. So,
Wow, that is beautifully said. Difference, need, and want. That is This will go in a clip. So yeah, this is a nicely the way you put it is a nice way. So I think it will give some clarity to other people too. Like, do I want to run or do I need to run? So yeah, yeah, nicely put. I'll keep that in mind. I'm gonna go. I will go. I want to go. Do you want to see now?
I think it does feel better generally. I know it does, but like for somebody that's getting into it, not that you are getting into it, but somebody that hasn't at all, like New Year's resolutioners,
Right.
they will find that they do feel better when they're on a routine. And it's hard when you're only doing it like twice a week because those two times a week, you got to will yourself to do it. You're just like, I don't want to do this. Like, why do people work out? Hey, if you do it 7 days a week, it does not. I know it sounds extreme with 7 days a week, but if you do, it's not even a mental thing anymore. You just go. You just do it. I have a thing I say I don't come home from work unless I go run. So I never come home first. I've only ran in my neighborhood twice this year. I used to run in my neighborhood all the time, but I just go drive and join my buddy, which is like usually like less than 5, 10 minutes away from my work. Or I just run from work and I jump right on the towpath, which is a flat path here in Ohio, and I'll just go run that and just get my miles in. And I wear these aftershocks a lot. I talk to buddies on the phone constantly. I don't really listen to a lot of music on the run, but I will call people. My wife, my buddy Tommy. I'll just call different people and chat with them because it's fun. You make it an enjoyable experience instead of, I got to go grind out these miles. I don't like grinding miles. I like jogging. That's what I say. I like jogging. And then when I need to, I'll run fast.
Now thinking about it, that totally makes sense because at that time when we were doing 4:30, then every day I wake up and I was like gone off the clock. Now I started running outside, and then from 6 days a week it became twice days a week, and then I'm just like, I'm just gonna rest. Yeah, but what you missed now totally makes sense.
Yeah.
The what you just said totally makes sense. And now even though I say I'm gonna go gym like Tuesdays and Sundays, and it's like, do I need to or do I want to? So that's always an I will. I don't end up going, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna go. I'm just gonna go. So I think you have given me a boost today, so I'll keep that in mind. I need to not need and want to do it, so I'm gonna keep that with me and try to use that for the next time when I feel it this way. Then I'm gonna like, okay, I want to
I
do it.
hope that helps.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, you want
Yeah, I think that helps. Yeah, that will help. That will help.
And just know this too is you talk about my accomplishments, these 100 milers and stuff, but think of it this way. I am literally no different than anyone else. I just have spent the majority of my time working on running. And that gives hope for you or anybody that you are capable. Who are you different than me? Nobody. And a lot of these superstars I see, they were nobodies when they were kids. They were going to school like everybody. I didn't do much when I was a kid. I played trumpet. I went to the Marine Corps. That was cool, but I didn't see myself doing this stuff. I didn't even know I was a runner ever. And I think that kind of gives a good feeling for everybody that, like, I am human. And if I am healthy and capable, like I said, having all our limbs and everything, that's awesome. And you can do it. Like, you're just as empowered as anybody else. And that gives me a lot of confidence too that I'll still compare myself and it's healthy, but you can't do it in an unhealthy way. You can't let comparison kill you. You use it as the positive connotation where, man, I could be like them. This is what they're doing. And it's cool that they've figured out the workout game. It's cool that they have basically brainwashed themselves over years. If you want to put it into crude terms, we're
Yeah,
brainwashing ourselves.
true. Yeah,
But everything is brainwashing. Everything. I mean, a bad habit or a good habit. If you want to, I was a gamer for years. That's all I did growing up, was just play video games all the time. And I was brainwashed myself to be in a habit of gaming constantly. And it just depends on what you spend your time on.
true. True. It is kind of a addiction too. That's what we're doing. Punishing ourselves, pushing ourselves to the limit, like you're pushing yourself to the brink, and then doing this crazy 100 milers week after week and crossing it. And talking about this 100 miler thing, so what is your mindset? Let's talk about this morning. This morning or yesterday was a race day. We did another
Yesterday
100
morning,
miler.
yeah.
Yeah, yesterday morning you did this race 100 miler. What is your mindset when you go to the event and you are starting up for the 100 miler? Do you start conservatively, or do you just go and feel how you feel and race, or do you have like a strict plan, like, okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna hit this pace or hit this plan? How do you move when it is a rest day for you?
So yesterday, I guess, was a little different than my first two in the past month. Since yesterday was completely flat, I had a goal that I think my heart rate would allow me to run at 140 to 145 the whole time. And I knew from previous races that my legs are usually what fails me eventually. My heart rate seems to still be fine. My cardio seems to be fine. And I'll talk about that in a sec. But when I showed up to race morning, it's usually pretty freaky. Like, I'm scared every time. It makes my eyes a little watery. It's you start and you just think, I'm going to be out here for a long time. And you just know it's going to hurt, but it's awesome. And you think, I guess what I think is, I'm going to do this. I told myself I'm going to do it. And if it ends up being a terrible day and I walk for hours, I'm finishing this damn race. Like, I don't care how long it's going to take. And I've had those days and those races where I death march is what I call it. You death march for hours. And I go into it with that mindset. My friends, my wife, they'll say, "You think you're going to win?" Or "How do you think it'll go?" And I always say, like, if I finish. Because I never can expect to finish one of these things. I think as soon as you start being cocky or overconfident, that's when you need to run into issues. So I go into it every time saying, I've controlled my controllables. I have my fueling pan. I've done everything I can prep. All I have to do is run. And if everything fails me, I did everything I could. I mean, there's at this point, and that's kind of reassuring. So that kind of like eases my mind a little bit the morning of. But and this is kind of where I think about this thing is I love to take a long hot shower in the morning before a big race. And I actually take it in the dark and I have it hot water and I just start thinking and I just think about the race and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna run and it's today. And that helps me get my thoughts out and just reassuring that I'm gonna do it. So anyway, when I get up to a race, I go, I usually am pretty aggressive in the beginning because I like running with the race energy. There's so many people in the beginning. There's a lot of high emotions, and I love that. I like running with other people. So, like yesterday, I started off with the 25K group. There was a 25K event at the same time, and we're running 7 to 7:10 and moving. And we're moving, and they were up there with like four guys, and three of them were running the 25K, and one of them was running the mile relay. There's an 8-person relay, and one of them we were kind of exchanging words like, "What distance are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing the 100 mile," and they're like, "What? Why are you all the way up here?" And I was like, "Well, I just try to hit this heart rate," and my heart rate was in line. Like my heart rate was like 145 at that point. I'm like, "All right, I'll just stay with these guys," and I know I'm not going to keep up. And eventually, after 10 miles, they were starting to grow away from me, which is fine. And I wanted some time with another person, so that helps me thrive is being with people. And then I was alone for about 10 miles. And then I had throughout the race about 67 miles worth of pacers. So that was pretty cool. So a couple friends joined me. But yeah, I start off pretty aggressive only because of the race energy. I don't do it to scare the competition. Like I don't do that kind of stuff. I just think you might as well go hard in the beginning if you have the energy. I don't think your legs are going to get wasted from running a little bit faster. I just don't really believe in that because unless you're sprinting, I mean, but that's different. I don't think that's smart. If you run a little bit faster, like running 100 miles, you should be in shape to use a little bit more energy. And you got to fuel yourself too. So, like, I know you haven't done any ultras yet, but calorie intake is massive. Like, that's like almost number one in these things is calorie intake, carb intake, because your body is an engine and it needs fuel and it runs out of fuel pretty quickly. It's not like a car that can go forever with fuel. Like you need to consume stuff every hour and it's a lot of upkeep. So that's a part of the prep I'm talking about that it when you know that's all prepped, you know that all you have to do is run as long as you're fueling your body. Yeah. Long answer. Apologize.
No, no, yeah, no. I mean, that's nicely put and some useful insights. And also, like when you are so aggressive, sometimes you're going on these races and you have some goals, like you always end up winning, all these kind of things. But
Yeah.
but has there been some instances where you went into the race and, like you said, you don't have any ego at the beginning and you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna see how I feel and I'm gonna run and everything is depending on how the race goes. But has there ever been incidents where you are like, oh, you planned for something but then it didn't work out because of weather, any of the other issues? And how do you handle these kind of setbacks when some things doesn't go as planned?
Rely so heavily on, like I said, fueling that if something's going really bad, it's probably because I'm underfueled. Like I blame everything on that. I mean, and so like last year, 2024, when I did Mohican 100, it was my second year running hundreds, and I had gone 8 months since my last 100. So I did Canal Corridor 100 in October of 23, and then I did Mohican in June of 24. Well, I guess I just kind of forgot everything I did because I wasn't really using fuel. I was just eating from the aid stations and just randomly. And I'm sure you know about aid stations and stuff. I'm sure you follow ultra things, but they just have food, just random food. And I would just get there and just eat stuff and then just keep running. Well, for one, I probably wasn't getting enough food. I can almost guarantee that. I mean, because my philosophy now is 400 calories an hour or more. I mean, I know I wasn't getting that from those aid stations. Well, anyway, the race is 4 loops. It's 27, 27, 24, 24. So it's 102 miles. Is that how it works out? Ends up being 102 miles. Anyway, so I did the first 2 loops. Then I did the third loop and I was starting to struggle. I was on track for like 20 hours. And then I did the fourth loop and I death marched for 24 miles. Like it was just, I was laying in the middle of the woods. It was the middle of the night, and I had my one of my best friends, Tommy, with me, and he was pacing me, and we were walking so much, and I keep laying down, or I would trip on something, or I was dizzy on the trail, and I was delusional. So that loop should have taken about 5 hours. It took about 8 hours, and it was. I remember thinking, I am never ever going to finish this race. It's going to take the rest of my life. I remember thinking like I'm going to walk for 80 years to finish this damn race. It just felt like that. And the one thing that was a great learning experience. And I think it was under fueling, but I didn't stop. And I knew in my mind, this is what I like to think of. There is only one way to leave this race, and that's the finish.
Yeah.
And the only way I will DNF is if I break something. If I really injure myself, you got to make a smart move. But if you're just boo-hooing, sorry, you're going to have to boo-hoo for longer. You're going to have to get through it, and you're going to hate your life for a long time. But that's some learning periods. You're going to learn. And I always say that I lose a couple brain cells every time I do one of these long races because you spend a lot of mental energy. Mental
Yeah.
endurance is a huge thing. And when you're in the dumps, and a lot of people deal with this, even yesterday, I know multiple people that were doing the 100 miler and they dropped down to a lower distance because they were just in absolute misery. And I would say that more often than not, it was probably because of underfueling. But I would not want to DNF because I don't want to instill the habit that it's okay to DNF. Like, and I know that might sound toxic and everything. Like, oh, good job, you did 70 miles. That's awesome. I think it is good job, but I want to tell myself that I'm not quitting no matter what. Because there are plenty of races I've wanted to quit, even in marathons. I mean, I there's a couple road marathons I remember that I was like, I might drop out of this race, but I didn't. I just, if you have to walk, you got to walk. I mean, you don't see as many people walking in marathons, but you got to do it. People walk all the time, and
Yeah.
actually, there's strategies to run walk, and there's nothing wrong with it. Running or a marathon or a race is how do I get from point A to point B in the most efficient manner? It's not I just need to run nonstop. So if that efficient manner means you need to walk to collect energy, I agree with that. And same thing with ultras. Nobody's running 100% of an ultra. I've never ran 100% of an ultra. It just doesn't work that way. There's always walking and there's always stopping. It'd be a cool challenge. I was just actually talking to somebody about that yesterday. I was like, I want to try a loop course that I have a crew that hands me the bottles and I want to make sure I never take a step walking just to see if I can do it.
Dang.
But that just sounds miserably hard, but it would be cool to see how far you could go without stopping at all. Hopefully not to use the bathroom. You never know.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
You can use the tube. Pee you
Yeah,
can,
right.
yeah, yeah. For the pee you can use
You
the
got the
tube, but
bucket.
yeah, but that would be, I don't know. I don't know if that would be possible, but maybe short distance you can do it. But for 100 miles, you might have to stop one or twice.
Maybe. I know I've had 100 milers that I never had to poop or pee once. And I
Oh,
think, well, I think the reason is if you're balanced completely on your fueling and hydration, where you're
mhm.
using exactly what you're putting in, I don't know how it's possible to even know, but I've had it where I haven't had to go.
That makes
I don't
sense.
know. I like to have to pee during hundreds though, because I want to be overhydrated or over. I want to be more than hydrated just in case. I always consider it a bad indicator if I haven't gone in a while. So I'll start drinking a lot more water.
Yeah,
But
I think that's probably better study to rather overhydrate than underhydrate because that's can cause other issues.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And another important or interesting thing would be like you talked about one of the mistakes was like underfueling. That's what you feel like that's one of your biggest weaknesses you are doing in a race or in an event. So has there been any mistakes that you have done and you're like, oh, okay, I learned very hard way from that. Could be anything. Feeling
I
gears.
even with just I mean, I think yeah, water consumption is huge, fueling is huge. Hill training, depending on what kind of hills you're going to be doing in a race when you haven't worked enough hills. I mean, because sometimes, like, I think you can get away a lot with flat running. Like, if you were to choose only one and one thing only, if you only had a flat place to run, like Florida here, they're flat everywhere down there. And I would rather you do really high volume than worry about hills because your legs will make up the slack or your cardio will make up the slack for what your legs can't give you. But if you do have access to hills, there's like a special muscle group that you do work with hills that you don't get many other ways. And I think that everybody should have hills in their lives. At least one hill day a week. I think it's even for 5K runners, people that want to get really fast in the 5K, if you can do some hill repeats at like max effort, that's going to raise your anaerobic ceiling a lot. And when I'm running up a hill at max effort, it feels like I'm redlining. And that's good. That's what you want to really push the limits of yourself at least once a week, in my opinion. And not too much, because I'm a heavy believer of 80-20. And maybe that's a good point is, yeah, here's a big mistake in my running life is my first couple of years, we would just run mostly as hard as we could all the time. Like you probably have heard this a lot, but just run as hard as you can. I mean, I don't know, I'm running. I mean, what do you want me to do? But now I've learned that you should, in my opinion, do 80% of your miles nice and easy.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be stressing you out. And the best way I ever heard it was years ago is when you finish the run, you want to be able to just stop and start walking and not be out of breath. Just like I just finished. That's it. But then 20% of your week, and I would even go as far as saying 10% of your week because I'm not really doing a ton of speed work, but 10 to 20% of your week, you're doing something balls out just as hard as you can. And that's why I like to race a lot 5Ks, 10Ks, halves, fulls. You're pushing really hard, and it's fun being in the race. And it actually does help you push harder because there's others around you, there's support teams, there's all this stuff. So that was a mistake I made early on. And actually, like 4 years ago, my cousin and I, we started looking into all this and we were like, we should try getting into zone 2. And we had to run at like a 12-minute pace. I mean, it was
Yeah.
so painstaking. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm jogging in place. And that's no offense to people that run slower than 12, but that was just how we were so used to running eights. But we'd be in the heart rate of 160, 170 when we were running 8-minute miles. So is the cool thing is I gave it a try. We trusted the process. He has since stopped running, but I have continued running and I've tried to follow that zone 2. Now, 4 years later, my zone 2 that used to be 12 is about 7:30 to 8:30 per mile. I mean, so much faster and it's the same heart rate. So now if I run in the 160s and 170s, like my marathon heart rate is usually 170 is what I shoot for. That's about a 550 to 610 per mile. I mean, there's no way I would ever thought of that before. Ever. I didn't think that was possible. So that's where I think a huge mistake was I made early on. But it's good to make mistakes. That's how you learn. I don't think you can learn everything from a book. I'd rather learn everything from trial and error. I mean, yeah, I don't want the error to be like life threatening, but I think we need to make a lot of mistakes and find the problems first so we can get better later.
Definitely. And also, mistakes are not bad because that's where, like you said, the growth happens and you learn from it. And you're like, okay, I'm just not going to do this in the next race. So, this is what I'm going to improve. Like you said, you're talking about the mistakes. Me too. Last Bali marathon, I was not doing the hill repeats. I was doing the YASO 800 with for the faster runs or like interval training. But for this particular ultra, I needed the words to do. So, I started doing this hill repeat, and it's a bit, it's like a 5.5 grade, and it's not a lot. It's only 300 meters. Like I do that 10 times or so sometimes.
I mean, that's a
And
pretty good distance. I think that's like an ideal hill.
yeah.
Like if even if you look up hill, like best hill to run on, they say you want it gradual and like enough to be like 2 minutes long or something. And it's probably at least 2 minutes if it's almost a quarter mile. So yeah, that's an ideal hill. You can get some speed on that thing.
Oh yeah, I'm trying, and at least I try to do one rep faster because I am trying to run based on power zone. So I hit two reps really hard. So on that rep, I always try to PR it the the week before whatever I did. So every week I've been PRing the segment or whatever that is. And for the rest of the time, I just try to slow jog it, or at least not like super slow, but at least go up, come down, go up. And I noticed that it helps because when I was pairing the segment, I noticed that I was running around 434 on a hill, which is pretty good. Kilometer, not miles, not miles, but kilometer. 434
Trying to do the
kilometer.
conversion in my head.
Yeah, 434 kilometer, and it was like pretty fast because when I was doing it outside, when I was doing Yaso, then I was hitting around on like 450, 445. So I was surprised myself because I was doing so much of hill repeat. I was building that endurance to run 430 on a hill, and I was like, oh dang, it working. So that's why it was like, oh yeah, we need to do hill repeat. So now I try to do it
Yeah.
and always try to at least hit two rep very hard with everything I have. I'm trying to beat the course record, which is 51 seconds. And right now I'm at 121. So still a long way to go, but
Oh,
I'll go there.
nice.
That's the
That's
goal.
gonna be.
Yeah.
I love Strava segments.
Yeah. That's
They're so much fun. Well, and running uphill is better on your joints too, because you're not in full extension. You're using more of your muscles instead of slapping. You
mm,
know how it feels when you run downhill? Like that's a
oh,
lot on your joints. But downhill running is it's essential too. You don't want to take it easy downhill. You want to let gravity take you and pump down. And that's probably why your quads hurt. Because downhill running are really what beats your quads up. I mean, I've done some races that there's 3 straight miles downhill, and by the time I finish it, or to get down that hill, I can barely walk because my quads are just absolutely shredded. So downhill's pretty hard on them for
oh.
sure.
Yeah, could be because the trail I do hill on Saturdays, on Fridays, I usually do my long run race. So I do like 25, 26 kilometer. First 5 kilometers are flat, super flat, and the last five is super flat. But in the 14 kilometer in the middle is where it's a loop. So I basically have to go and loop it. So it's like a 2.5 kilometer loop. So you go, it's like 14% graded. So it's really hilly and then it's really steep. So maybe that is it. I'll keep that in mind next time. It's a soft landing, so I'm trying to do soft landing and smaller feet because I once I got that ITB, I've been really focusing on soft landing and doing smaller feet while I'm coming downhill. So maybe that's something I need to take into consideration too. So yeah, thank you for that. I'll keep that in mind.
Oh yeah.
You do so much distances. One of the interesting thing to know would be what kind of shoes you wear because you probably must be changing shoes pretty often because you are doing so much 100 mile a week around that, and then probably you wear different shoes for the races and stuff like that.
Yeah, so here's how I kind of get away with high mileage on shoes. So I'm a big believer in minimalist shoes. And I don't know if you ever heard of the brand called Zero shoes. It's getting somewhat popular over here, but basically it is, I don't have a pair in here, but it's I wear this one of their styles called the Zero Happy Feet shoe. It's HFS shoe. or HFS, but it's zero heel raise. There's no cushion at all. It's basically just a rubber sole. And I've put well over 1,000 miles on those shoes, and they don't break down because it's just rubber. There's
Yeah.
no support at all. And I've been running and stuff like that for probably about 5 years. And that's the majority of my training. And my feet are really strong because of that. But I don't have to change them out that often. Really, the only reason I've bought new ones is because I just want newer looking ones. Because the only thing that's happened to one of my pair are the sides kind of blew out. But they still worked fine. I use them for my mowing shoes now. But they work great. And I am a big believer minimalist. Now, when it comes to racing, I have two major shoes I like. For anything that is not a road race, I will use Topo Athletic, and they're called Spectres. I like Topo a lot. And their Spectre line, I'm on my ninth pair. Like, I love them. Like, I think they're the greatest shoe. I've used their Ultra Ventures, which are their trail shoes. They're just heavy, like every trail shoe is. And I've, over the years, found that I like trail shoes less and less. I just like road shoes. Unless it's like a really muddy course, I'm going to use road shoes. And so I'll use those Topo Spectres. Now, on any road races, I've really gotten into using carbon plated shoes. So I use the Asics Metaspeed Edge. Yeah, something like that. Metaspeed Edge. And they're fast and they're light. So funny, yesterday during the 100 miler, I wore those carbons for the first 20 miles and my legs were getting beat up.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do 100 miles in these. I did 50 miles in them and it worked pretty well, but I was also running about a minute faster per mile. So, like, it was more of what the shoe was designed for. I was running 730s yesterday, which felt great. I just think my legs still weren't recovered from the last
Last week,
weekend.
yeah.
So, yeah, I decided to switch into my topos and I ran the last 80 miles in my Topo Specters, and they feel great. And actually, I did a just a trial on one of my Topo, like maybe pair three or four. I put 1,000 miles on, and they worked fine. The cushion was pretty beat up, but just for a trainer shoe, it was nice. But yeah, so that's pretty much the three pairs of shoes I go through. But like again, I'm really big into the minimalist. I probably put probably about 60 to 70% of my training in the year on minimalist shoes.
Those are good for you if you have been using them because you use your own muscles and no support. That kind of makes your leg stronger. I think I
Yeah,
would
and
die with that.
I'll use them at work too. Yeah,
Wow.
so when I first changed to them, I was a big heel striker, like my first couple years. And when I did my first marathon, I had just been looking stuff up online, and I at that point deemed that I want to change my I want to change my foot strike. And it was hard. I actually went out to there's a paved path down where I work, and I took my shoes off. I did it a couple days a week, and I propped my phone up on my shoes and I'd take a video and I would run barefoot back and forth. And I remember going from like 30 miles a week down to like two because I just needed to learn how to change
Yeah.
my foot strike. I would run in place, I would run barefoot, and then I bought a pair of minimalist shoes. Actually, I ran in running sandals for a whole year. That was fun. So 1,000 to 1,500 miles on running sandals. I really liked them, but I wanted just something else protecting my toes.
Yeah.
So then I got basically these zero shoes are the same thing as the sandals. They just cover my foot. And I changed to a basically foot to front strike over time and over months and months. I built up the mileage and now I could do 100 miles in a week and my legs are fine. But back then, there's no way. I would have ripped my Achilles. I would have been injured for sure. Like, you can't go into it quick. And I wear them all the time too. I don't just wear them for running. I wear them at work. I wear them to Walmart. I wear them everywhere. They're like my shoe. I love the feeling of them. After a hard race, I love putting them on. They're just comfortable. It's just like a little, just a light shoe. It's just a loafer almost. I mean, they're a shoe. They have a back to it, but it just feels like a loafer.
That is interesting. When I was going on like a group run here in Berlin, I've seen few people who use that. They were using, and I saw one guy. I'm on TikTok, and he runs on barefoot, and he that's
Yeah.
all. Like, he has so many videos on it, and he does like I was looking at his like the most I saw was like 10 kilometers something, and he was doing everything under barefoot. I might ask him to do the interview and see what he says. Like it is curious to know like why is he running on the barefoot. His name is like something barefoot runner, and he saw the podcast and he asked me, is this podcast about running barefoot? Because that's how he asked me the question. And then I saw the profile and it's like, I don't know how you do it. It's minimalist shoes are good in a way if you have a good muscles and to build the muscles too. But I think it would be very hard for me to switch from regular shoes to these shoes just because there is no cushion and my legs are screwed up.
Well, think of it this way. Were you born with shoes on?
No.
And
Yes.
our feet are designed pretty well. And you've heard the word term pronation, like a pronate.
Yeah.
Well, our feet are kind of designed to pronate. It
Mhm.
puts a different inflection on our knee for a reason. So we're always trying to fix these things, but why? And I don't really understand the whole movement with protecting the heel. I don't know where that started. I don't really know. I'm sure there's a good reason, but I don't. I think that it's shown itself over centuries in the past that people would run barefoot everywhere. And when we wear shoes constantly, you ever heard like if you get like a cast on your arm or something, or you break a bone, that once it finally comes off, those muscles are really weak. It's
Mhm.
because you haven't used them.
Yeah.
So when you don't use the muscles that is we use when we're barefoot, those muscles get weak. And we're like basically putting new stress on new muscles when we
True.
wear supported shoes
True.
because our feet don't know what to do with a raised heel. Like our Achilles is shortened, our calf is shortened, and our feet aren't used to being in that position. So even what I'll do, I have a treadmill and I'll walk barefoot on it. I used to. I used to walk barefoot on it just to get barefoot miles. You don't have to run, but being barefoot, I think, has a ton of benefits. Now, I'm not going to run outside barefoot. I've done it, but the risk and reward isn't there. I mean, I'm going to step on a nail or something or a piece of glass. That's going to screw me up. But I like the idea of flat foot. And even people that are flat footed, there's been stories of people growing arches from running barefoot. So I think it's good for the legs. The more you crutch something, the weaker it gets.
I also agree. I think running barefoot or using the minimalist shoes has its advantages, but I think not for me because I'm scared.
Oh yeah, and
Oh no
otherwise,
no, I
you're
was just
fine.
saying. Yeah, I was just saying because I've been so prone to injury and like I just look back all the journeys I had, and I have had like so many issues. Like you were talking about earlier on, the imbalance of your leg. So my left leg is a little bit weaker than my right one. I think all of us have this imbalance, but this is pretty screwed up. And I asked ChatGPT, how can I know that which leg is weaker than which leg? So I did this experiment, and this is ChatGPT said, like, put your one leg up and then try to stand up on it. And then I did that, and my needless to say, my left leg was like so bad. And after that, I'm trying to do single leg like a squat and try to single leg calf raises and all this kind of thing, trying to get at least get more reps on it. So I'm working harder on my imbalance leg. And since you have been running on your like minimalist shoes for so long, I don't think it would make a lot of difference even if you switch to barefoot because you are practically running barefoot when you are using the minimalist shoes because it has literally no support on it.
Yeah, because they're classified as
Yeah.
barefoot shoes. Yeah, it's more of just a protection thing at that point. I've seen people run these 100 milers barefoot in the woods. Like I actually
Uh,
was just running with a guy last weekend. He was doing his first 100 miler. He was a little bit younger than me, and he was doing it in sandals. Like his toes were all bloody and stuff. I'm like, bro, I like that, but I'm not doing it that far.
yeah, yeah, that oh god, yeah. No, yeah, yeah, that is not for me. I like my shoes. I like my nails.
Yeah, that's like when I do really long events, I'll wear my supported shoes. Like
Mhm.
Topos have a lot of support because I know that I'm going to have a beating on my legs. And that's the time I think it pays off is to use support for stuff like that.
Yeah, and I've seen the picture of your feet too. I
Of
think,
mine, yeah,
yeah, I saw that.
they're
God,
gruesome.
yeah, that's it's God. Yeah,
Yeah, they're rough. It's
they have
definitely
taken
not good.
they have taken pretty much beaten up. Like it's
Every
yeah,
nail has pretty much died, and
died.
that's a
Yeah,
sign of achievement right there. Actually, my left foot is swollen right now. I did just notice that.
that
I
is
gotta
the
get over
price
it.
of
Yeah, it is
winning
actually
all
swollen.
those races.
That's right. You gotta pay. Oh man.
And so we talked about the suits, but when you're running like these long distances, do you even carry the waist and everything, or like how do you do? If it is not a loop, then how do you manage everything? Handheld devices, waist
Oh,
belt.
carrying a vest or
Yeah,
something is what you're saying.
yeah.
So it seems to be that ultras over here on the East Coast are pretty lenient, where they'll have aid stations like no longer than 6 or 7 miles apart, which is pretty nice. Like I've heard out west, you'll have some races that are 20 miles apart. Like that's crazy. So
Yeah.
I haven't experienced many of those yet. So over here, in my mind, I can get through 5 to 7 miles by just carrying a handheld. And I wore a vest for a long time for ultras. I just hate having something on my shoulders. I like being free when I'm running, and I don't even like carrying a bottle, but I gotta kind of meet in the middle a little bit. I have to have something. So I have these really nice handhelds. Oh, they're all in the kitchen, but I have these really nice handhelds. They're Nathan handhelds.
Yeah.
They're like 14 ounces. They got a little handle,
Yeah.
and I would use two of them, and I try to like yesterday. I filled them up with 200 calories each, so I had 400 calories every 40 minutes, and it was a little too much, so I would skip loops because it was like 600 calories an hour. Anyway, I'll do that, and I also have these sprints bags. There's a company over here called Get Sprints,
Hmm.
and they make hats. That's actually where most of these hats are from. Yeah, like this. These are all Get Sprints. So they also make these little fanny packs, and it's pretty much just big enough to fit my phone and like
Hmm.
2 or 3 gels. Well, if I'm not carrying my phone, I'll just put a couple gels in there, and I'll get from aid station to aid station. And you might know the term too, but they also have drop bags. You ever heard of that
Oh
before?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so drop bags, they'll have like where you can have your own stuff. And I rely heavily on drop bags. So most of the races I've done let you at least have drop bags like 4 times during 100, sometimes
Hmm.
8 times. So that comes in really big hand. I'll plan my whole race plan off those drop bags. I don't even use the aid stations except for water. And I'll get to my drop bag and I'll switch out my bottles, or I'll pour the new bottle in the other one, and I'll go. I'll just get moving because that's what I am expecting to eat or drink. It kind of gets a little boring because you're not really enjoying all the foods they have out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, bottles are a big deal for me. And there is one race I do each year called the Georgia Death Race. You heard me mention it earlier. You're required to wear a pack. Well, I guess I'm not saying required to wear a pack, but there's a gear list that you have to have: a rain jacket, a space blanket, a whistle, like all this stuff, and a 1 pound railroad spike you have to carry with you. So that's like a thing. It's basically you're carrying a burden, and at the end you throw it in a coffin, and you've basically released one of your burdens. So, and if you don't finish it, you fail the race too. So you have to have it from start to end. So that's
Interesting.
stuff you got to carry with you, and you
Yeah.
have to carry 22 ounces of liquid capability. So it's like I don't know any other way to carry all that crap unless I
Yeah.
have like a good waist belt. So yeah, that's kind of where that's at. But other than that, I try not to wear a pack anymore. It bothers me. I'm sure when I get into longer races, I'm gonna have to wear packs. Which hopefully I have goals of doing really long races sometime, longer than 100 at least.
Yeah, we'll come to that. And also, when you are doing this big event, like you said, you don't literally carry not a lot of things. You prefer not to carry the vest and maybe your handheld thing. But is there any one piece of gear that is like, okay, I need to have this? Maybe a hat?
It's funny, the hat, it's like kind of energy inefficient because it makes me hot. Like no matter what hat I've ever had, it is better to not have a hat on, but I like wearing a hat. It's like a sweatband. I mean, a lot of them that I have are very airflow, but I like wearing them. Even though they make me hot. But for a gear piece that I really like, I don't know. I probably, since I do a lot of things on heart rate and effort, but heart rate's a big thing. I have a chest strap that I wear a lot, and I've wore it for about 4 years, and I really like it. I think your wristwatch heart rate isn't necessarily that accurate. I
Yep.
mean, even the watch websites say that they have like a 30 to 40 beats per minute different tolerance because they can catch your cadence and stuff. And I think that the chest strap has been really beneficial to me over the years. It does kind of wear down my skin after a while. So, like after 100, I got like I don't know if we can even see it, but I got like scars and stuff. So
Yeah.
I have to take a break from it for about a week, but it's super beneficial in my mind. I can get clear, accurate heart rate data. Yeah, probably my chest strap. And I really like these. I wasn't into headphones, but then my wife talked me into these aftershocks, and making phone calls is fantastic. And listening to music, you can hear stuff too because it's an open ear thing. So it's like really nice. I used to just, I was so dumb. Like I would talk to people like this when I'm running. And I did that for years. Not even until I didn't even get a pair of aftershocks until like, I don't know, the fall of last year, like October or something. And then I got these. I'm like, oh my god, this is so easy to talk to
Yeah.
people. I mean, I hated because I'd be like this, and I'd have my hand held, and I'd be like holding this here while I'm talking, and I'm running, and it was just annoying.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Makes sense. I also wear my chest strap. I like it. I don't trust the wrist one, and that's why whenever I'm running, like doing the hard workout, then I always put my strap in because that's the good one.
I agree.
And I think, like we were talking about earlier on, one of the important aspects for you is to get all the calories in and the fueling that we talked about. And you said that you have some sort of mix that you use that's like 200 calories for each bottle or something like that. Out of this, do you also sometimes rely on the real food that you go in the kitchen, or you don't even like to eat those things?
Oh, I like to eat them, but I just think that it's you're since I've been getting faster. I don't know how to put this in like a way that's not going to sound weird, but like I think that you since I've been getting faster, I have to have something that's constant and that won't give my stomach variation.
Hmm.
So, like the powder I've used, I actually like try a bunch of different stuff all the time. But like the last three races, I used Morton powder. So Morton's really expensive,
Oh yeah.
and I only ever get it if it's on the deep discount. So like the feed had a 30% off the powders, which it actually I did all the math and it came out to be pretty comparable to most other brands. So I bought four 14 packs, and those have 320 calories each. So I did a 320 calories in each bottle for my last two races, and it's so thick that when you try to pour it out of the plastic bottle, like into my handheld, it's like goop, goop, it's like goopy. And
Oh.
my wife, when she poured it out, she's like gagging because she was filling up my bottles. And my buddy that filled it up for me, he's like, yeah, the piece of ice is stuck. And I was like, that's not ice. And he's like, you gotta be kidding me. And it's like, it was too thick. And they recommend mixing it with 17 ounces. I had to mix it in about 9 ounces because it had to fit in my bottle. So it was half the amount of water, super concentrated. So now for this yesterday, I weighed them out on my little food scale and I did 200 calories instead of 320 calories. And it was a little bit thinner. So that made it more palatable. And I also put half a scoop of electrolytes that I use this just random brand I got on Amazon, and then I put some amino acids, and then I put recently I've been trying ketones. Seems to be working. Seems to be a big trend right now, and I've used them for the past three races. I think there's a difference. I don't really know if it's placebo or not, but I'm gonna keep experimenting with them. But they taste terrible, absolutely terrible. I mean, it's like literally like bad battery acid. I mean,
Oh God.
like that. The ketones. Have you heard about it? Like
Mhm.
ketones.
I think I heard the
They're
name, but I don't know what it is.
It is disgusting, but what the idea is it allows your body to start burning fat, or it allows your body to activate to burn more fat. Check it out
Interesting.
sometime. Ketones have been
Yeah.
growing a lot of attention. I believe in it because I did keto diet for one of my first hundreds for Canal Corridor back in 2023, and I ate low carb and high fat for like 3 months. And I even did the first 50 miles of the race on peanut butter. And then that last 50, I was getting sick of the peanut butter. So then the last 50 miles, I went to like a high carb mix. But it seemed to work pretty well. And then when I went to the high carb, it kept my system running, my engine running. So I don't do keto anymore, but I think that the ketones are a good opportunity to the idea is burning fat and sugars at a high rate, so you're kind of getting more energy than you originally would. But yeah, that's what my mixture is. I've also used Tailwind for a long time. I like Tailwind. I used Scratch for a while, and the gels I use they're called carbs. They're just brand as carbs, and
Interesting.
they're like the cheapest per gram of carbohydrates and calories. Like, and they're really good. You usually don't find both where it's good and it's cheap. I'm surprised, but it's $2 for 200 calories. I mean, that's like everywhere I've looked on the internet, it's got to be the cheapest. And me and my buddy use them all the time. So you just down a whole gel and you got 50 grams of carbs right there. And
Wow, 50 grams per
sometimes
lot.
I'll
Yeah.
take three of them at the same time and just get 600 calories in and just keep moving and quick and easy. They taste fine. Yeah. So I experiment with a lot of things. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just sugar. I
Yeah.
mean, it's barely any. They're all like the fructose to glucose blend. I mean, you really can't get much more fancy than that.
And also, like when you are doing this kind of events, is there anything when you are going into you're like, oh God, I need to have that food, or do you get any kind of food carving?
Yeah, I have a guilty pleasure of Oreos, so I like Oreos. I'll grab some as I go. Now, another thing is when I get really late into a race, my stomach's hating me after a while. I've been eating like a diabetic for 12 hours, and I will get hot foods. So a lot of times they'll make grilled cheese or ramen or potatoes. So in the aid station. So I'll start eating some of those. Like when I did Mohican last week, I think it was like 15 from the end. I really needed to pick me up and they were actually making pizza and I ate a
Oh,
piece of pizza. It was so good. I mean, it was the first food I had all day and I was like, man, this is the best freaking pizza. And that really helped. And then the next aid station, when it was 5 from the end, I got a couple pieces of grilled cheese and oh, they were so good. And that's a pick me up. And you gone so long without it, it is a guilty pleasure because
yeah.
you're like, I haven't had this at all day. And salty after so much sugar all day is such a good
It's good dish.
change. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said yesterday morning when you are on the race, pretty much the time you are on yourself, right? When you're doing 100 mile, you're just like running on yourself alone, pain, you're grinding every mile. So, what is your thought process or what goes through your head when you're doing this kind of events? Are you like, God, this sucks, I hate this? Or you're like, fuck this, I'm crossing it. There's nobody behind me. I'm just crossing it. Like, what is your thought process?
I just try to forget as much as possible. I just try to look forward and keep the rhythm going. Like the example, like yesterday, it was all flat. So there's a lot less things to worry about. But it did get pretty monotonous just on 5 mile loops. And I think what I'm able to do just to keep going is knowing what is walking going to do for me in this moment? Is it actually going to help me or is it just going to delay the inevitable? Not everybody is able to run the whole time. That's totally fine. But walk with a purpose. Don't walk because you're defeated. And if you build that in, say you build in checkpoints, I'm going to run until I get to here and I'm going to give myself a reward. I'm going to walk. And I build reward systems throughout these long races. I call them luxuries. And so looking at yesterday, my first luxury was at mile 20. I was able to get my first pacer. He was going to join me for 30 miles. So he joined me from 20 to 50. My second luxury within that is at mile 40, I was going to start taking in caffeine. I know caffeine always makes me feel better. And I got there. That helped me a lot. Now, by the time mile 40 to 50 hit, it was blistering hot. And I mean, it was like running in a sauna. It was insane. My pacer felt super hot, but having those little luxuries got me along. And then they started filling my hat with ice. So I was putting my hat with tons of ice under it. and there was ice chests throughout the 5 mile loop. So I'd start filling. I was wearing tights yesterday, and they had pockets, so I'd start filling the pockets with ice, and those were luxuries. So each lap, I would stop at the specific one of them, one of the ice chests, and I would just fill my whole shorts pockets with ice in my hat. Man, it felt so much better every time. I mean, I'd never used ice before in a race, so that was a luxury. Then mile 60 was more caffeine, and I only had one pacer planned yesterday. My other pacer had dropped out last minute, and so then at mile 60, I had asked around. I was like, "Hey, if you guys know anybody who wants to run with me, let me know." And I had a buddy, and he showed up in the middle of the loop, and he just starts running with me. I was like, "Oh, what's up, Wayne?" And he shared a loop and a half with me, so that was 7 miles. And then another friend, he jumped in for 10 miles with me, so that was great. And I knew I was going to take more caffeine at 80, so I had 40, 60, 80 planned. I was going to take a Tylenol at least past 50. I wanted to get past 50 before I took anything. He took me to 80, and then I had no more pacers. Well, they had been reaching out to friends, and a friend was nearby, and he had already done 20 miles in that morning just training, and he came and ran the last 20 miles with me. And he doesn't run ultras or anything, and he
Wow.
he came, he was going to do 10 miles, and he's like, "No, I want to do all 20 with you." And that was great. I had 67 miles covered by friends yesterday. It was so cool. And in my last 5 miles, I had a second friend that was doing the relay. He took his lap easy to run with me. And so we had all three of us running the last loop together. So yeah, in long story short, those are all luxuries to me, because next checkpoint, what do I have to look forward to next? Don't think of the whole 100 miles. Think of, all right, when I get to the end of this loop, I will have XYZ. Or when I get to this part of the loop, oh, it'll be a downhill section for just a little bit. Or, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom, so I can't wait to get to this damn porta potty. And that is mentally reassuring. And actually, when I sit down in the porta potty, that minute, oh, it feels so good. You're
Yeah.
sitting down. It's 180 degrees in that damn porta potty, but
Yeah.
you're loving it. It's like you get to sit down for once. So, yeah. And in my mind, too, what keeps me going is it's temporary pain. I know I'm not in any imminent danger. My heart's not going to explode. My legs aren't going to break. Like, I don't feel those dangers. I just feel tired. Like, I hate my life right now. I don't want to run anymore, but I don't want to be out here longer than I want to.
Pretty
And
much.
so I say, there's the only thing I can do is just keep running. And I know, like, based on my heart rate with a flat course, that I should be able to handle it. My body anatomically should be able to handle it. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. I'm not huge into data. So, like, literally, the only thing I really care about is heart rate when I run. After the fact, I like looking through all the data and everything. It's cool. I mean, it's
Yeah.
cool to me, but none of that really helps me. But the heart rate gives me a lot of reassurance. It mentally just tells myself, all right, I'm just fatigued in general, but the last thing I want to happen is my mind to go. And so I just have to keep myself mentally engaged. The other luxury I'll use is music. But since I had so many pacers yesterday, I didn't run with any music yesterday. And other times when I know I'll have some solo last 30, 40 miles, I'll start incorporating music. I've listened to podcasts, but honestly, I like just being outdoors. I mean, it's so nice to be in the quiet sometimes. And I've been in races that I didn't see anybody, one single soul for 6 hours. Like, I'm the only one out there. Like, I joked, I did this race in January, and it was a 6.5 mile loop. I had gone 3.5 hours without seeing anybody. And I was like, is there nobody else out here? I'm like, and the ice was like up above our ankles for 20 of the 31 miles. It was a 50K. And it was snow and freezing cold. And like most of the people left the course. And I was like, just where the hell is everyone? I'm just dying out here. And so you got to just find some mental strength just to keep going. It's like a training run eventually.
In this topic, so when you are going through this race and when you're by yourself, and sometimes you go through this phase where you're like, oh God, it's tough. I don't know if I can finish it. Have you ever had those kind of moments where you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I can finish this race, or you're just so determined to finish this race, you're gonna be like, it doesn't matter what happens now. If I have to crawl, I'll do it.
Oh, yeah, it happens all the time. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of times I'm thinking, I don't know if I can finish this. But like you keep asking yourself that, and the miles keep coming. And it's funny. I've joked that when I'm in that miserable phase, my mind is thinking, how can I cut this course? How can I get to the finish? And my integrity would never let me do that. But you're going through all these mental just negotiations like, what if I do this? What if I do this? Or, man, let me break my leg right now. Like take me out of my misery. But I know those are just mind games and they're just fucking with me. I have to get through it. I know that it will pass. There's always low points. I've never necessarily had a low point that never went away. But it always ends up going away at least by the last hour of the race. I've never walked into a finish line, but I've been through it for like 8 to 10 hours at a time where I am just no good for nothing. Just absolutely just destroyed. Yeah. So I just know that I got to keep walking, if anything. And even if I can't walk, then I better sit my ass down at an aid station and eat for an hour and say, I'm going to freaking go. I mean, it's stupid. I'm not going to leave this course. I have a sticker. I used to have a sticker on my car that said death before DNF. And I have DNF'd. So my first 100 attempt was one of those Mohican 50s. It was my second year. I signed up for the 100 the year prior. And I went into the race broken already. My back was in really rough shape and I wanted to not do the race at all. Well, they couldn't do any refund or anything. So I just showed up and the 50 mile took me almost 16 hours, where in the year before it took me 10 hours because I was pacing for the 100. So I dropped at the 50. Yeah. It doesn't count as a DNF on Ultra Sign Up because they never recognized it ever. They said you could drop down. That's the one thing that bummed me out. I like clarified like with 5 people before the race, can I drop down if I need to? And everybody said yes. And then I get to the finish and like, oh yeah, we don't allow drop.
Right.
All right, well, whatever. I mean, I got a medal for it, but my result exists nowhere, which, oh well.
Yeah, that's a bummer. If
It is a bummer. You ran a
yeah,
whole 50 miles and you don't even get credit for it.
yeah, and also, so like in this present scenario, when you said when you have those hours, like 10 hours of flow, is there something mantras or like how do you talk with yourself? Is there a small pep talk where you talk with yourself? You go like you can do this, you got it, or how do you bring yourself back and like you were talking about last 1 hour you are so good and then everything is gone. So from so low to being so high at the end, how do you balance that?
I kind of just let my mind wander. I try not to really think about the race itself too much. I just think about random stuff. Like sometimes I really get into thought, like thinking about life or thinking about just my day to day or like what I'm going to do next week. Or I just kind of just let my mind just do its thing. The more I can not think about the race, the better because I just can daydream. Daydreaming does happen during running. After so long doing it, you kind of I think that there's a huge separation between the brain and the body eventually. You set your body on cruise control and
Yeah,
then you let your brain separate itself and just start thinking and just going through the motions. I mean, because you've done something so many times, your muscle memory is there. When you drive, you don't think like I got to put my right foot on the pedal.
yeah,
You don't really think of that.
it
So I
happens.
think the same thing with running. Yeah, it just happens.
Yeah,
So now, like really hilly courses, like I'll walk up hills, and that's like a luxury. But it'll also give me like a brain break. I'm not breathing as hard. And something I thrive off a lot, I haven't even said this yet, is one of my biggest factors is seeing people. I really like being around other runners. So when I am alone for a long time, it gets tough. But anytime I'm running back towards runners or passing them as we go, whether it's an out and back course or whatever, I always give them encouragement. I try to chat with them, just quick chats like, hey, how you doing? And more people have been recognizing me lately, which is cool, like here in Ohio. So it's like, oh, I remember you from XYZ race. And that's been pretty cool. That makes me feel good. And just having some conversations out there. And I've stopped and walked with people too. I mean, that's fine. I like doing that. I'll stop real quick and walk with them and chat with them for a few and then keep running. And yeah, keeping a smile on my face always helps.
has there been any race that you have done? Like you have done so many, and you talked about having pumped down to 50 miler or the result being not there. But has there been any races that has broke you or almost did?
Yeah. Yeah, the Georgia Death Race, I always say, is the hardest thing I've done each year. And it's not even 100 mile, it's 74 miles. And it's almost 16,000 feet of elevation. So it's a lot. And
Yeah, it thought.
that course has held more tears than any race I've ever done. I've cried a lot on that course. I mean, sometimes for almost an hour. I mean, and it's so hard. I mean, what is it?
Hill.
5 miles,
Oh,
you gain 4,000 feet of elevation. So you're just up
up, yeah.
constantly. And yeah, and then by like the marathon point, when you hit 26.2, I watched it when I did it this year. You get to just over 7,000 feet. And then when you get to 50K, you're at 9,000 feet. So the majority of the elevations in the first half of the race. And that kills me. And then what really makes me cry is the downhills. It hurts
Yeah.
so bad. I mean, there's a portion I can see it in my head right now. You go downhill for 30 minutes, like a
That's a
half an
long
hour.
time.
You
Yeah,
never,
that's a long
oh
time.
my
Yeah.
God. It's like, just give me a break, man. And you're just do your legs. You actually have to walk downhill for a little bit because you're in so much pain. It's just stock. So when your legs are just so obliterated, like it breaks me. And I have cried so hard on that course. I mean, yeah, that one's broken me. There have been some other ones that are pretty close. Like that race I just said with the ice. It's just such a small local race. Like there's not even like any big deal about it. But it's a 50K and it's 5 loops and there are 2 alternating loops. So you do the south loop twice and the north loop 3 times or something like that. Well, when we pulled up to the parking lot, it was raining. I slept in my car for 20 minutes, and when I woke up, there was a sheet of snow everywhere. And we start the race, and immediately we're ankle deep in ice water. And for 20 of the 30 mile, probably 25 of the 31 miles were all ice water. There was creek crossings that were over your knee, and it was like 25 degrees out. That one really, I, I like, I hated my life during that. And that it took
Yeah.
5.5 hours. Like it's not like I was out there all day, and I still won it with 5.5 hours. So like that's how with a 50K with a slower time like that and a flat course, somebody's probably looking in like, what happened? And that's just because the course was gruesome. Like the director told me that like 150 people changed their distances before the race started. Like they wanted to bump down because it was just so bad conditions. And
Yeah.
we still did it though. I mean, I'm not gonna drop out because of it. I mean, and the thing was, is there was other guys running behind me. Like for the first 6, 7 miles, they were right on my tail, and I'm thinking, well, they're doing it, so I must. I don't know what difference I have. If they're doing it, I got to do it. And eventually, they fell way back because I was thinking they're going to this race. Like, you just got to keep pushing forward. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some others. I mean, there's a lot of races that have really beat me up. Definitely Georgia Death Race. Yeah. Burning River is one of my most dangerous races that I had done because it's a local race here in Ohio. I was doing super well. I led the race for the first 89 miles, and then I started spitting blood,
Mhm.
and I was really hitting rock bottom. I was on track for about a 14 hour. It would have been a course record, and it was really hot that day. And I was taking ibuprofen, and I don't do ibuprofen anymore. I think I only taken 3 the whole race. But now what I've read is that SEDs are not good to take during exercise. And so I think that and just not being up to date on my water, not having enough water, I think that led to some issues. And I got passed by second and third place. And I dropped like 2 hours slower because I was just walking delusional for like 15, 20 miles. And I had like pillow vision, like around my eyes. I couldn't see very well. I would sit down for like 30 minutes at a time. I was going through it. And I didn't tell my wife I was spitting blood. I didn't tell the aid station I was spitting blood because they would drop me. They would kick me out of the race. And I knew I could finish. I was going through it. And eventually I kind of got regained my consciousness and I just had to walk the rest of the way. I think the last 2 miles I ran, like jogged it in, but that was rough. That was probably like one of the hardest times I ever went through, for sure.
So different experiences 3 times, but compared to this, if you look back at your ultra running history, Has there been any races you are like, oh God, this is my favorite race? Don't tell me those. One of those are the favorites.
Yeah, that's pretty hard. I say this though, probably so like Mohican, I love because it holds a lot of memories for me. Just being one of my first 50, first 100. I love the course. But for like best 100 mile that I ran, and it's not just 100 milers, but I really like Kettle Moraine, which is in Wisconsin. That's an awesome race. You're running through prairies and like rolling hills throughout the whole thing and just really pretty scenery and just Wisconsin Midwest, not really mountainous or anything, but the aid stations were gourmet. I mean, they had just stocked with food. I mean, the race sells out in like 10 minutes, so it makes sense why. And I didn't
Yeah,
realize how popular the race was until I went. It's actually going on next weekend, but I did it last year and I loved it. Yeah. For other races, like it's hard to pick a 5K, 10K. I've done so many. I don't really hold like a lot of love for the course for short races. I do a half marathon every year. That's down where I went to high school. It's only about 40 minutes south of here. I've just done that hometown half marathon every year. And marathon, I finally got to do Boston this year. And that was really cool. The hype is real. I kind of was like writing it off at first because everybody just hypes it up. This
yeah,
is a big deal. And, I've done so many things. Like, stop just making this being the only cool thing I've ever done. And
yeah,
then I went, and it is really cool. It's an awesome experience. And it's a hard course. It's all downhill with some uphills towards the middle half. But yeah, that's probably one of my favorite marathons, which is cliche to say, but probably is one of my favorite marathons. Yeah. And I do a 50K every year called Bigfoot 50K. It's about an hour south of here. It's super muddy. It's 3 10-mile loops, but it's 4,500 feet of elevation. And that's in December. And the funny thing I look forward to do with that race every year is there's campground showers and they're hot water. So, and nobody uses them. Like nobody really knows about them. And they say it on the race website. So we go over there after and I take like an hour long, just scalding hot shower because it's freezing outside. And it's like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, I look forward to that every year.
Like when you are looking at your future right now, you have so many races you're coming up. For instance, you say you're looking something at July. You also looking at any other races like Cocodona 125, Hard Rocks, UTMB, anything on your bucket list?
Yeah, like I'm signing up for some stuff. Like July is Burning River, August is something called Eastern States. But I would really like to try more than 100 sometime. So I am on the wait list for Cocodona. So that's pretty cool. 105. So it's pretty good chance I'm going to get in, which that scares the hell out of me. When I signed up, well, I tried to register right away and I got kicked out ultra sign up. And that website needs work. And I got on the wait list and they had to reorganize the whole wait list because it was a huge glitch in their system. Go figure. And so there's like 700 people on the wait list. I wasn't even on the top 600. And they had to take the wait list down and actually reorganize it to when people actually registered. And then I ended up being 107. So I'm like, oh, wow. And apparently the top 400 got in last year for wait list. That's how much turnover they had. So yeah, when I was registering for that, I was shaking. I was nervous. Like I'm still nervous thinking about it. It kind of makes my gut like turn because I don't know what I'm gonna do. I
Is it
really
two
don't. I
250? You did sign up for 250.
256 miles.
You got it, man.
Yeah.
You got it. You got it.
Oh
You're gonna get in
man.
and cross it.
You know what the crazy thing is what scares me the most is you run, let's say 90 miles and then you take a nap. You're gonna tell me you wake up from a 30-minute nap and you gotta run another 150 damn miles? Like that sounds miserable. Like
Yeah.
I can't function after 100 miles. And of course you'd have to slow down. Like I'd have to slow down, but that freaks me out, man. And that's good. I like being freaked out, but dude, it's next May, so I got to keep prepping, keep the body healthy. That scares me.
I talked with Cody. He's 23, so he is the first one from the Cocodon I interviewed from podcast. It's coming up next week on 12th. His episode is coming out 12th, and he talked about
Cocodona?
Cocodona, yeah, 250. I have like 4 people from
Oh,
Cocodon. Yeah.
well, it already happened last
Oh yeah,
month.
he finished. He's 23.
Oh, I thought you meant it's coming up. Oh,
Oh
my
no,
bad.
yeah, yeah. He already finished it, and I meant his the episode with him is coming out next week on 12th.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, he talked about he did like I think 30 minutes one time and 10 minutes on the floor and 1 hour sometime. And then I talked with Harry. He won in 2024, and this year he finished fifth. And
You got to interview him too?
yeah, yeah, it's coming out. It's probably July. It's coming
That's
out.
cool.
Yeah, and he said he slept 1 hour 30 minutes, and he was talking about he tried different kind of fueling strategy this time around. So it was interesting to see his perspective. It was so cool, like and so nice. Like man, he's like so humble and cool. I was talking to him, and he was like, "Dang," and he's like, "It's so super chill." Like it was so awesome when I was talking to him. And I talked to Lindsay as well. She also finished second overall in
Mhm.
women. And her was like she even didn't take any food. She did all liquid gel. So it's so many
Did
different.
she?
Yeah, she did all liquid.
Wow.
And I talked with Jenny. She also did it, and like her two sons did it too. They're like 17 and 18, and next year her like 16-year-old kid is doing it too. So it's so
Yeah.
funny. Like I don't know how people go through. Like I talked to four people who did that, and everybody has like so many different perspective of how the race went and how they were doing, and I'm gonna talk to Dante next. I think he's on the list, so that's gonna be another interesting thing. Is like I talk to like these four people so I can bring those story in and then talk about it. So at least it helps like knowing the course. I didn't do it, but it's just amazing how people do it. It's funny. Yeah, it's
Oh, it's
interesting.
amazing.
Yeah,
Those, it's amazing what the human body can do.
you'll cross it, man. Like you've been crossing up everything you do. So I have full faith you'll do
I
it.
appreciate it. I appreciate that. It's scary.
Yeah, it's good. Scary is good because that means
It is.
you're ready for it. You're ready for it. And also, so these are the regular questions I had for you. So there is this rapid fire round. So just whatever things come to your mind. So it's just two questions, yes or no, or whatever it's coming. So you'll probably
Okay.
know it. So
Yes. No.
I think you already answered it. First ultra you ever ran?
That was Mohican. Well, no, it was a 50K on a treadmill back in 2019. It
Treadmill.
was for a
Oh,
charity event. Yeah, there was 24-hour event, and I did it in 6.5 hours. And the treadmill reset every hour,
yeah,
so I'd have to reset it and just get back on. I tracked it all on my watch, and yeah, that was rough. And
yeah,
they had like pizza and stuff. It was at a Planet Fitness, so that was fun. Never again.
yeah. God, treadmill. I've done
Yeah,
half marathon on
technically my
treadmill.
first race. Yeah, I don't like the treadmill,
You know,
man.
it's not for 50K. Favorite distance to race?
Yeah, I love 100 miles. I mean, it's so freaking fun. I mean, yeah, 100 miles are awesome.
One shoes you swear by. Propose.
My Zero Shoes HFS. I mean, I love those Zero Shoes. They're awesome.
Best mid race snack.
I've had them, my wife and stuff, get me McDonald's Bacon McDouble a couple times. That is solid. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it tastes so good. So yeah, that or Oreos.
Worst bunk ever.
I guess I really haven't had a bonk, but I mean, when I failed Mohican 100 that first time I talked about. Actually, there is a time I felt even worse when I finished a race. I did Bob's Big Timber Backyard Ultra back in 2023. I went 116 miles at it, and I couldn't go one more loop. I was dead. Like I said, if I went out for one more loop, I might actually die. And I think I've come a long way since then, but that was definitely my limit then. So yeah, that wasn't a bonk, but I felt like I was gonna die.
Running solo or running with pacers.
I can't really choose one because they both have a lot of value in my mind. Sometimes I like to not have too many pacers. Sometimes those solo miles help me because
Yeah.
you can have too much of a good thing. You like a cupcake and you say, yeah, it's like, you want 20? And you're like, well, no, I don't
Yeah.
want that many. So yeah, that one's hard. I would say
Yeah.
both.
Music or silence? We talked about that, so probably 50-50.
Kind of both, yeah.
Yeah.
Silence is great though. You get to be in your own thoughts, which is a good thing.
So when you are going into trailhead essentials, what's always in your car?
Oh man, I got everything in my car. All my running stuff. I got gels and heart rate straps and headlamps, and I always have a full pack of water in there. I mean, I got It's my running car. Yeah, I got a blanket, I got extra underwear, hand sanitizer. There's nothing in my car that I don't have that I need on a run.
Race, you would do it again tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I ain't
Yeah.
doing shit tomorrow. I will always do Mohican 100. That's my plan. I love that race.
And race, you would never do it again.
Probably that damn ice race I did. And I've done like over 200 races, but I can't stop thinking of that damn race. That killed me. So yeah, that it's
So,
called the Rocks and Roots Winter Trail Series is what it's called. If anybody ever's looking into a heart challenge, it's right here down in Alum Creek, Ohio, Alum Creek State Park, Ohio. So it's
no,
awesome, but it's tough.
yeah, no thanks. In snow, if it is cold and you have to go to water, then it's automatically rejected by me because I cannot deal with that.
I thought I would have frostbite. I really thought that, and because we were through so much water, but by the end, I still was fine, I guess. I mean,
Is
my
that the
feet
one
were
with the without
soaked,
the
but
shirt? Is that the one without shirt? The picture you sent it to me.
oh,
Previous one
oh
without
no,
no.
that was okay. So that's fun. Yeah, each year I try to wait for the coldest day and I'll do a mile. And this year it got to -8 Fahrenheit, rather.
Yeah,
And I went for a mile around my block. I had two pairs of socks on my hands, I had two pairs of socks on my feet. I had three pairs of underwear. I taped my nipples, and I had two beanies. But everything else, I was just in shorts.
yeah,
And yeah, I ran a mile. That was fun. That was rough. And I did 10 miles that morning with a friend, but we were all bundled up. But over the course of that mile, my beard got frozen. I
yeah.
watched it in the video. I took a video of those 6 minutes and just turned white and completely froze.
That that's crazy. So I have one last question for you, and this is the question I usually ask to everybody. This is the question that will goes in the clip. So I would like you to answer this question. Please
Oh
finish the
boy.
sentence for me. Running has changed my life because.
Because it has taught me to be what I believe is my true self, and it has allowed me to connect with so many good people that would not otherwise be in my life.
All right, beautifully said. And that is all the things I have for you. And thank you so much for taking your time after you did 100 mile in 13 hours with less sleep and waking up early to do this. And I really appreciate you for that. So, and just for the record, you are a machine.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really am. I really thank you for having me on. This is cool.
Yeah, I think we had a nice conversation, and it's people will enjoy this episode, so it's gonna be fun. Yeah.
Cool.
And okay, now you can go back to sleep. And thank you so much for your time.
Hey, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't even know. I
We
don't
can
know.
talk.
I might make it to the sauna.
Yeah, we can
Go
come
ahead.
back again after the other races and talk about things because I think running is always fun. Talking about it and talking about race experience. I think people like to hear stories, what went to the race and what happened. So I think it would be a good conversation to talk about.
Yeah, if you ever want to hear about another one, if I do an event, if you want to hear about it after, we can recap
Oh,
it. That sounds fun.
yes, yeah, definitely. We can do that again. So for now, yeah, thank you so much for your time and have a good, wonderful rest of your day. Or yeah, if
Thank
you're not
you.
going to bed,
You
yeah,
too.
yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great
Yeah,
talking with
bye.
you.
Same here.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Hey everyone, thank you for making it to the end of the podcast. I hope you really enjoy this conversation. I'll see you again next time with another guest. Until then, happy running.